The Singapore dream is about the promise of a better life, right? It's for every generation. Singapore dream is evolving. It's one where it's more open, not so prescribed. It's one where we want you to choose your own path of success, and there will be different pathways, different aspirations, different goals. And ultimately, we also hope that Singaporeans, in realizing your own potential, have a care to look out for one another and help all of us succeed together. The external environment will get more challenging for Singapore. You know the issues that we face. The US and China are in a competition for global leadership, and there is deep mistrust and suspicion on both sides. I don't think the two will want to go into direct conflict. They don't want to get into a conflict situation, but the competition will grow, and with growing competition, we worry that things can go wrong. Not just in the economics side, where potentially you may have more trade barriers, more technological decoupling, but even accidents or conflicts or accidents and miscalculations that can happen around hotspots like the South China Sea or the Taiwan Straits. So we are in a new environment, a more dangerous, more turbulent environment. It's not going to go away anytime soon. It's going to be with us, and we have to find ways to navigate this situation. For now, I think we are all right in terms of our bilateral relationship with America. We have a close partnership. We have many areas of cooperation, very close defense and security partnership, but we are also cooperating in new areas, in cybersecurity, in civilian nuclear energy, even in outer space collaboration. So we are continuing to grow that partnership, and it's a mutually beneficial partnership. I had a phone call with President Trump in December last year. It was a good phone call. He remembers his visit to Singapore in his first term as president. All of you know why he visited. So our bilateral relationship is positive, and I'm sure we can continue under the Trump presidency to strengthen that partnership. And so long as the two countries are able to manage the competition and not force countries like Singapore or other countries to choose sides and then bifurcate the world into two blocks, the US bloc and the China bloc, we will be able to navigate this. You may say, well, what happens if they really choose to bifurcate the world? The likelihood of that happening is not so high at this stage, because even between US and China, there's tremendous interdependencies. So I can't see how a full decoupling can happen at this stage. If it does, frankly, it's not just Singapore that's impacted. If it were to happen, that such a scenario were to arise, frankly, God help us all. Not just Singapore, the whole world. The whole world. I mean, it's a different scenario. Then we are truly at the brink of a third world war. And really, at that stage, it's not just, it's a very different scenario. It's cataclysmic. I hope it doesn't happen. The risk of it happening are not high at this stage. And what we need to do, all of us in the world, looking at this situation, is to find ways to manage this so that while the US and China continues to compete vigorously, the rest of us in the world who can shape and influence events, perhaps not to the same degree as US, China, but do our part to minimize the risk of an outright decoupling or an outright conflict from happening. 80% of people buying BTO flats today can do so and service their HDB housing loan with CPF and very little or zero cash. That continues, and that's a result of HDB pricing its BTO flats to make sure that the vast majority of Singaporeans can still afford them. The resale market is on the high side. I understand, but again, we got to appreciate that that's because we came out of COVID, where there was a supply disruption and we were not able to build sufficient flats because the entire construction industry was severely impacted. We have been, since then, building as much as we can, to the best possible abilities. We are talking full steam ahead, right? And that's on the HDB side. But even on the private property side, because the HDB resale market and private property are interlinked, right? If, for example, you want to get a private property, you can't get a private property because it's expensive, you may very well say, I get an HDB flat instead. So the HDB resale and private property are interlinked, and that's why even on the private property side, government land sales, which means government putting out land for new buildings, has been very consistently, we have been putting out a lot of land. But these supply moves take time. When the government issues land, it takes time for the developers to come in, build, and the flats and the properties, the new condominiums will only be ready a few years from now. The land, the building doesn't come up within a year. It takes 4 or 5 years to build. So the land has been provided, new supplies have been launched, HDB has been going full steam. The supply is there and will increasingly start to help stabilize the market. But these things will take time. Meanwhile, for BTO flats, where you are buying a new flat from HDB, HDB can price it to make sure that it remains affordable. So we are doing all we can on the property side. The new flats are affordable. We will continue to review to make sure they continue to stay affordable. And the supply that we are putting onto the market will eventually have an impact on stabilizing the overall property market. AI is a very hot topic. All of you would be familiar. We have companies, leading companies, some of the big companies of the world, the big tech companies here, which are interested in doing more out of Singapore, and we are supporting them. So if they were to set up more AI centers of excellence, for example, which some of them are interested to do, then they will base more of their activities here. It will create more jobs, more opportunities for young people like yourselves. We are doing more in research, and so we are trying to see how we can link up better these research expertise in our universities with industries and create a larger AI ecosystem in Singapore, which will allow us to grow our economy and create better jobs, better opportunities for young people. But there is a second part of AI which I think is beneficial for everyone, which is just to learn and master AI, using AI tools to be better, to be more productive. And that's something that all of us can learn. You don't have to be a computer science graduate. You can be doing literature, whatever it is, all of us can learn. It's very much like how during my time we were learning Excel. We were learning how to use word processor, Word, Microsoft Word. These were tools that enabled us to be more productive. And in your time, you can learn AI tools that enables you to be more productive and more effective. Everyone can, and we will try to do this in a more systematic way. In the same way, we can help companies, big and small. Not all can be like Apple or Google to do cutting-edge stuff, but all companies, even the smallest firms, can benefit from using AI to be more productive, to be more effective, to be more efficient. And again, that's how we can uplift everyone in Singapore. Criticism of the government, there are many. You just need to go online and you will find all of them. I've heard, but like I said, my approach is, we don't start off assuming that we know everything. We don't start off assuming that everything is perfect. I think we should have a balance. Be grateful, first of all, that in Singapore we have many things that we can be appreciative of. Healthcare, retirement, public housing. If you are living in a city, in any other major city in the world, you won't get the kind of public housing we have in Singapore. HDB is very unique, and it's something we should be proud of. So that's one aspect of it. But does it mean that we therefore become complacent and assume everything is okay? No. I mean, there are genuine concerns around cost, around affordability. We understand. We have to find ways to help Singaporeans understand too. Some of these things don't have easy solutions. I mean, if there were, we would like to do them, right? And so some of these issues are global issues. You look at inflation and cost as one issue, for example. Global inflation came up in the last 2 years because of the war in Ukraine, because of the war in the Middle East, because of COVID disruptions. That has caused inflation everywhere. It's not just unique to Singapore. That's why there were unhappiness in countries everywhere around inflation, whether it's housing or other aspects of it. That's why in elections in so many different places last year, incumbents lost ground, and quite a number even no longer became the government. They lost the right to govern altogether because there is unhappiness, and understandably, in circumstances like these, people don't want to hear logic and rationality. They just feel unhappy, frustrated, and therefore they direct that unhappiness to the governing party of the day, or whoever is the incumbent party or the governing party. So that's the reality everywhere. It's not just in Singapore. So there will be criticisms. We listen to the feedback. We hear you, the concerns, the unhappiness, the frustrations. We've tried to find solutions to tackle them. If there are no easy answers, we explain to you what the situation is to the best of our abilities, and then we find ways to move forward as a country. That must be the way we do things in Singapore. Not to bring and tear each other down, but to try and uplift one another, to try to move forward together as one people.